I had to make this video right away because we have to look at this chart right here because the market is experiencing a lot of volatility and a lot of people are freaking out, calling for a stock market crash, calling for the bubble to pop. And this chart, it's going to explain statistically when the next crash is going to come. And it's kind of like a ticking time bomb at this point right here. Let's dive in. So if we take a look down here on the bottom left, you can see that the percent decline goes from 5 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 40, 40 plus. We get it. And this chart right here is roughly 80 years. So about 84 times in an 80-year period, so we'll just say like once per year, the market falls 5 to 10%. So pretty much every single year. Is that what's happening in the stock market right now? We did fall 5%. We are now falling into this category right here with the average decline in this 5 to 10% dip range of 7%. How long is the average dip going to last for? About 1 month. What about to recover? About 1 month also. So are we in this range right now at the market? Are we not? Time will tell. But let's keep going. Let's see how bad this could really get and how frequently the market actually does, quote, crash. Because maybe the market's going to crash right now. We know the valuations are a little bit hot. We know AI is priced into the market. We know the labor market's a little bit hot. Let's keep going here. How often do we get a 10 to 20% stock market dip? 29 times out of roughly 80 years. So a little bit less than half of the time, we see a 10 to 20% stock market dip. So every roughly 2 years, we'll see that. The average decline is roughly 14%. It lasts for 4 months. It takes 4 months to come back to even. That honestly isn't that bad, and it's very, very likely we are going to see this in 2026, in my opinion. Now, for 20 to 40%, this has happened 9 times in the last 80 years. So roughly every 8 years, we're going to see a 20 to 40% stock market crash. With the average decline of 28%, it usually goes down for 11 months and takes 14 months to recover. Think about that. 11 months for it to go down, and then another 14 months for that to recover. So that right there is 25 months, roughly 2 years, just to get even on your initial investment if you bought at the top. Is this possible to happen right now? We know this happened in 1999 in a dot-com crash. It actually went down more than 40%. And we all know how long it took to recover. If you invested at the top in 1999, it took you quite a bit of time. So we got to figure this out right now to figure out our odds of, hey, is the market going to go down this much? How long is it likely to take us to recover? Let's take a look at the next step right here. 40% plus crash happened 3 times in the last 80 years. So roughly every 20 to 25 years, we'll just say somewhere around there is how often this is going to happen. Every 25 years. And I've been sitting here preaching on this channel for a long time. Average decline of 51%, by the way. I've been sitting here on this channel preaching that you have to be prepared for a 50% stock market crash with your current allocation in your portfolio, because if you are not, your portfolio is a ticking time bomb. Literally a ticking time bomb, because roughly every 25 years, we see a 40% plus market crash with the average of down 51%. Are you prepared for this? Are you going to survive through it? And are you going to be able to capitalize on it too? And it usually happens over the course of roughly 2 years, and it takes roughly 5 years from the bottom to get even on your initial investment. That's a long time right there. 5 years to recover, that's a long time right there. So what we're going to do in this video is talk about where most retail investors go completely wrong, screwed up so bad that they don't even understand it, and how we could figure out these statistics right here to capitalize and make money and not get wiped out in these dips and not freak out and panic when the market goes down. Like, look at my Charles Schwab account right here. You can see that it's scaled up to 1.2 million bucks in the last few years through bull markets, through bear markets since before COVID. I'm not sitting here saying I don't have any volatility in this account. I do have a lot of volatility, but so does Elon at Tesla, and so does Warren Buffett at Berkshire, and so does, Jeff Bezos at Amazon. Stock market's volatile. That's what's going to happen in the short term. It's just part of the game. So if we take a look at this chart right here, let's load it up of the NASDAQ. Let me make this a little bit bigger so it's easier to see. And we'll go to a 6-month chart right here. What do we notice on the 6-month chart right here? Do you happen to see a lot of volatility? Because I feel like I see a lot of volatility. And do you happen to see this dip that recently happened that freaked out so many people? I see it clear as day. How much did the NASDAQ fall right there? We'll just say 6% to keep numbers simple. 6% peak to trough dip. This freaked out so many investors. A lot of people got margin called. A lot of people got wiped out. A lot of people were calling for, oh my God, the stock market's a bubble. The labor market's going to crash. Inflation's getting out of control. Trump's going to crash the stock market. AI is a bubble. AI is hype. It's already all priced into the market. Whatever. We hear all those crazy strategies, all those crazy theses with all the retail investors when the stock market goes down a little bit. They want to buy puts. They want to sell their shares. They want to hedge their downside. Doomsday is coming. This is a top. I'm never going to invest in a stock market ever again. because you couldn't get through physically and emotionally through a 6% stock market dip. Pretty sad right there if you ask me. And, if I just go on the right hand side, I just want to look at one company with you guys together of SoFi. SoFi is a company that, took a lot of people out in the last couple weeks. And it doesn't even matter if you like SoFi or not, or if you care or not. I just want to run through this example really quick and show you guys what's really going on here. So, I know the people watching these videos, you guys like to do stock options, you like to buy stocks, obviously. But the problem with most people that do that stuff is you like to do stocks and options on a short duration basis. And this video is not about me preaching that longer duration options are better, but I just want to show you. You probably do some form of the wheel strategy with options. You sell short duration cash secured puts, you do cover calls to get rid of the shares if you get assigned. But here's what happens, and here's why most people go wrong, and the emotional aspect of investing kind of ties into this too. You're selling cash secured puts up here. Maybe you go out a couple weeks or a month. You did good on that cash secured put, but then you do it again, and you get assigned the shares. And now you are in a rush to try to go sell cover calls as the market's falling, as SoFi's falling, to get rid of your shares. So you're acquiring the shares up here for 26 bucks a share, and down here you're trying to get rid of your shares when they're 19 bucks per share. So why are you buying high and why are you selling low? Ask yourself that. Like, why do most retail investors do that? You're buying high and you're selling low. And all of these crazy option strategies that you're doing, you're unlikely to beat the market in the long term, and you're more likely to have a lot of gray hairs in the next couple years because of all the volatility that is coming to the stock market. Like, we just looked at this chart right here. We know, statistically speaking, the market is eventually going to crash. And here you are sitting on your little 5% market dip, 5% that brought SoFi down 30%, Archer Aviation down way more, Palantir down more, Robinhood stock down even more. Here you are sitting on a 5% dip where your high beta stuff went down more, and you're panicking, you're freaking out, you're selling on the bottom, you're never going to do the stock market again. Like, what were you guys even doing during the Liberation Day tariffs? Like, God, you guys probably had like 14,000 new gray hairs on the top of your head when that was happening. And what the heck would you do through something like this, where the NASDAQ fell from peak to trough 35%, and it took 2 years just to get even on your initial investment? Like this right here. This was a V-shaped recovery. It is totally not always going to be like this. Like, what happens if we have some sort of deep recession coming in 2026 where the market valuations are already a little bit high? This right here is the earnings per share growth line. It's the number one thing with like 99.9% correlation of what dictates where the stock market's going to go. We know valuations are high. So what if we get some sort of recession, labor market recession, AI blow off top, whatever, in 2026? The cause is a lot of people to get laid off. And when those people try to get their jobs back when the recession, quote, clears out and everything is okay, AI took their jobs. All these AI agents got better. They're just taking jobs. When those people don't have a job, they don't make money. When they don't make money, they don't spend money. When they don't spend money, that is horrible for the United States economy. So who's to say that we're going to get a V-shaped recovery every single time? Who's to say that the next big dip is going to look something more like this? That takes many years, maybe going all the way out until 2028, until we recover. Who's to say that's not going to happen? It could happen. So when you go take a look at your portfolio and you look at what you really hold in your portfolio and what strategy you're doing, are you 100% confident that you are okay with the strategy you're doing? Are you 100% confident for what companies you are selling cash secured puts on or just buying shares in general? Are you confident that you are okay to hold those companies for the next 5 years? Are you confident that you bought a great company at a good price and you're willing to hold it? If you're not, hey, you could have sold 5% higher, but the reality of the market is, if we go to a 6-month chart, let me make this right here. You're basically within, we'll just say 5% of all-time highs in the NASDAQ. If you are not okay with your portfolio right now, you have to trim. You have to get to something that is more sustainable to survive through a serious stock market meltdown. Because again, every 25 years, we see roughly a 40 to 50% stock market crash. Who's to say that that's not going to happen right now? The last time that we saw a deep crash was in 2008. 2008 was roughly, we'll just say 18 years ago. Who's to say that we're not now in the window to get a 50% stock market crash, where it's going to take over 5 years just to get even on your initial investment? 5 years to get it even on your initial investment if you bought the S&P 500, by the way. This is the S&P. This is not SoFi. This is not Robinhood. This is not Palantir. This is not Tesla. This is 500 collectively companies in the S&P 500 that takes this many years to get even on your initial investment. If you are not allocated to be able to not only survive but capitalize through those crashes, boy, you're going to be in for a serious rude awakening. I consider your portfolio to basically be, you know, a ticking time bomb at that point. So, if you're looking at this volatility in the stock market, you're like, oh my God, I'm freaking out. I'm refreshing my cell phone 14 times a day, looking at my brokerage account saying, oh my God, what am I going to do? I'm up $5,000 today. I'm down $5,000 the next day. You're in the wrong game. You are not an investor. You are a speculator. And, the game of investing is basically like watching grass grow. The more that you go out there and stare at the grass with a magnifying glass and you get a new lens to look at it even closer and then you put it on 3 screens and then you draw a line and say, oh, well, the wind blew this way, so it went up this much, but then the wind blew that way, it went down that much. Are you really making the grass grow any faster? No. The only way to make the grass grow faster is to go out there and add water to it. Do you want to know how you go add water to the grass, which the grass is your portfolio growing? You go buy great companies at good prices and you hold them. And when you have ultra high confidence plays, like something that is a great company with a moat, with pricing power, with a durable competitive advantage, and you're okay to hold it for the long term, when you buy that company for less than what it's worth, you're going to do fine. Like, let's go back to my good old fashioned water bottle example right here. Let's say that this is just company XYZ. Say you buy this company for $100 out the door. You buy the company for $100 out the door. Great. What is the next question that you should be asking me right now? I want to buy it. You're asking $100 for it, but I need to know the answer to question number 2. Question number 2 should be, how much money does this business make? If it makes $1 per year and you pay $100 for it, it's going to take you theoretically 100 years to get your initial investment back. It doesn't look like a good investment at that point if you ask me. Like, come on, it's not really complicated out there. This is what price earnings ratio level is, by the way. But what if you buy this $100 water bottle and it generates $50 per year in profits? That's a PE ratio of 2, meaning you're going to get your initial investment back in 2 years. Now, a lot of companies that retail investors have been buying lately, they've been kind of like the example of a $100 water bottle that makes $1 per year in profits. So are you surprised that when the overall, NASDAQ falls, we'll just say 5% peak to trough, that those companies aren't going to fall 20, 30, even 40% peak to trough? Of course they are, because those companies have a lot of euphoria priced in. You're paying more for the same dollar of profits, but when the sentiment's not perfect anymore, when the story's not perfect, when there's a little hint of negative news out there, those are the first companies to get whacked, because with all these high expectations priced in, where else could the stock go besides down? But if you buy a great company at a good price, and we are buying at a great price, that could imply that a lot of negativity is already priced into that stock. Maybe that's when you want to allocate, because your asymmetric return is skewed to the upside. But your asymmetric return when you're buying the company at a 100p ratio, it's skewed to the downside. Because who on earth wants to go buy that company and take 100 years to get your initial investment back? I wouldn't want to do that. Like, just think of this logically. Would you want to go buy a lawn mowing business in your local town and say, hey, I'll buy it for $1 million and it only makes $10,000 per year in profits? Of course not. You would never want to do that. But if you buy it for $1 million and it generate $500,000 a year in profits, yeah, you get your money back in 2 years. That sounds like a really good deal. And maybe that's a super good lawn mowing company with the moat, and they have the best lawn mowers, they have the best employees, they have the best pricing, they have the best fertilizer to keep the lawns green. Like, you get my point here. You want to buy a great company at a good price. And when you find an ultra compelling setup, then you use stock options to magnify that return. You don't just go do stock options just for the heck of it. You don't just go do stock options to go generate this fake cash flow that you think you're generating. Because all the people that have been wheeling, doing cover calls, cash gear puts, the poor man's cover call, which it's called a poor man's cover call for a reason, because you're poor, because the strategy doesn't work. If it was a good strategy, wouldn't it be called a rich man's cover call? It's called a poor man's cover call because poor people do it. Not being mean to the poor people. Like, I started from nothing. Now I scaled to my $1.2 million account of a few other brokerage accounts, but, I've been doing this since before COVID with a strategy that has been clearly beating the market through the up times and the down times. Overall, my compound annual growth rate smokes the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ. I show it all the time on this channel. But my point is, all those crap option strategies that you're doing through this time frame right here, for what? What are you trying to accomplish? You want cash flow? You want to do it on these garbage companies? But what is your total return? What is your total return if you compare it versus the S&P? I'm willing to bet that 98% of people watching this video right now did not beat the S&P. And I know this is a fact because I've read A lot of books that have a lot of research built into it, research based on millions of people, research based on Robinhood accounts, Fidelity accounts, Charles Schwab accounts, whatever accounts out there. How did their actual investors on the platform do? They don't beat the market. They don't. And if you don't believe me, just go on Google, type in Robinhood Investor Index. It's going to come to this chart right here. And it says right here on the top, see how customers like you are investing? Okay, let's see how they're investing. What is very clear here, let me get myself out of the way. What is very clear here is that the blue line's the NASDAQ and the green line, the whole green shaded area, is how the collection of the Robinhood accounts do. This is not Robinhood stock. This is the collection of investors on the Robinhood platform. How do they invest versus the S&P or versus the NASDAQ? This is the NASDAQ, by the way. How do they collectively perform against the NASDAQ is a better way that I could have said that. So you could see that in the bull markets, from start to top, they make more money in the bull markets. But look at top to bottom. They get vaporized in the downturns. And then when the downturn comes, they're like, I don't know. I want to take some time to get reinvested in this market. Market dips. Okay, I might buy this dip. Boom, they start to do a little bit okay. But then we get a little bit of volatility in the market, like that 5% dip I was talking about. Dude, they're smoked. They're down like quite a few percent. They're probably down double or triple what the NASDAQ is down right now. But you can see the trend is clear. If you would have bought the NASDAQ right here, did nothing, didn't have 7 screens, didn't look at your Fibonacci or your Bollinger Bands or your moving averages, your VWAP, whatever, just bought the NASDAQ and did nothing, you would have beat all the Robinhood investors collectively. I'm not saying you're going to beat every single one, but I'm pretty sure you would have beat yourself at least. So that's why the strategy that I do, it's so simple, it's so easy, of just buying great companies at good prices and then holding them for the long term and only using stock options on ultra high confidence plays. Like down here, there's some high confidence plays. Down here, there's a lot. Right now I just started capitalizing on a few different companies that are really doing good so far. That's the name of the game, guys. But people want to trade. They want to make a bazillion trades and feel like they're doing something. They want to refresh their screens and go post on X and say, oh my God, I just turned $500 into $1,000. I doubled my money. But great, you made $500, but then 2 weeks from now, when we get a 5% dip, your $1,000 is going to be zero. You're never going to, take part in how compound interest actually works and really scale your account in the long term. So the point of this video was to really just expose the most retail investors. They're looking at the wrong things. They're panicking over the wrong things. And day-to-day volatility in the stock market, it's normal. It's a part of the game. Nobody knows when this volatility is going to come. We just know that it is going to come. And when you look at this chart right here and you really understand the data, that it's just a statistic of when the market's going to crash again, if you are not prepared for that, your portfolio, your life savings, your life's work is at risk of being reset at zero. And I will never put my life savings and reset myself at zero. I do not want to get reset at zero. So the strategy that I do right now works through bull markets, works through bear markets, and it works for anybody that wants to implement it. If you want to learn about that, check out the link in the video description, 10-day stocks and options transformation. If you don't want to do it, watch this YouTube video right here. I'm going to break down the 5 most common option strategies that most people screw up on. And I'm sure that you screw up on it too, but you're going to get a lot of value from it. You're probably not going to want to do those strategies ever again. Watch it here. I'll see you later.